Welcome to episode number 12 of the High School Football Roundup podcast. I'm Walter Johnson, and in this edition of the High School Football Roundup podcast, I'm going to do a quick recap of Thursday's action, as well as preview Friday's action and a couple of Saturday games. So let's get started, and we'll start with the Thursday night action from September 15th, and the Crisp County Cougars remained undefeated, and the Cougars ran their record to 4-0 on the season by running all over Rutland out of Macon. Final score 49-14. Another huge win for head coach Shelton Felton and the Crisp County Cougars. And next week, they'll travel to Columbus, which will be Friday, September 23rd, to take on Spencer. And more on Spencer right toward the end of this podcast. And the Cougars go to 4-0 with a 49-14 rout of Rutland in Macon, Georgia. And Region 1 6A, Houston County also remained undefeated after rolling past Warner Robins 63-28. So that makes Houston County 5-0 on the season. And only 5-0, one of the few teams in the state that is 5-0 at this point. And entering this fifth week of the regular season. And here's a preview of some of this week's games. And the Lee County Trojans will look to go to 4-0 on this Friday, September 16th. And they'll finally be, and the Trojans from Leesburg will finally get to play at home, as they'll play host to Luella out of Henry County, Georgia, southeast of Atlanta, the tiny community of Luella in Henry County. And it only gets tougher for the Trojans from there as they host Thomas County Central next week. And speaking of TCC, the Yellow Jackets have a big game that I'd like to mention toward the end of this podcast. And Luella started the season at 0-2, but since then, the Lions have defeated Lithonia and McIntosh in back-to-back weeks. And as I mentioned earlier, Lee County hosts Luella this week and Thomas County Central next week before opening their region schedule on October 7th. So, and the Trojans will look to go to 4-0 on the season, stay undefeated in the process. And the Trojans last week defeated America Sumter 36-10. And speaking of the Panthers, the Open GHSA Region 1 4A play against the Westover Patriots from Albany. And the Patriots have defeated Daugherty County rivals Albany High and Daugherty in back-to-back weeks, and that since they opened their season with a 12-0 shutout loss to Monroe earlier this season. And the Patriots hope to get win number 3 in a row by the time all is said and done up in Americus, Georgia on this Friday. And after struggling, and as for the Panthers, and they struggled to a 1-2 start, and they got crushed by Crisp County. Then beat Dooley County in overtime. And last week they fell to Lee County. And moving right along. And it's Albany High looking for win number 1 as they face the 1-1 Tornadoes from Monroe. And Albany's 0-3. And Thomas County Central trounced the Tornadoes just outside of Thomasville, Georgia last week, 35-7. And the Tornadoes look to bounce back after being blown out, and as for Albany High, and that team was off last week, and we'll look to get in the win column for the first time in a little over 1 calendar year. And next up, the Worth County Rams, coming off a 28-0 shutout win over Early County at home last week. We'll look to get over 500 for the first time all season, when they travel to Thomasville to face the Bulldogs. And the Bulldogs haven't played in about 2 weeks, in about 3 weeks. And they were supposed to play Monroe back on September 1st, a Thursday night game, but that game was canceled. And the Bulldogs also had last week off. And to Friday night's game against Worth County will mark the Bulldogs' first game since losing to Thomas County Central 16-14 on August 26th. And Baconton Charter will take on Miller County down in Colquitt, Georgia. And the Blazers last played a game back on August 26th when they were shut out by the Pelham Hornets. And Miller County looks to get back in the win column after losing to Mitchell County 30-15 last week. And it's the second straight home game for the Pirates. Also, Terrell County at 1-2 overall, 1-1 in Region 1 Single A. We'll head down to Thomasville, make that Donaldsonville, Georgia. That's Donaldsonville with 1D at beginning of that long word. Taking on 2-0-1 Seminole County. And Seminole County will look to stay on top in the region standings with a win. And Terrell County, who had last week, which had last week off, will look to keep the positive momentum going in their direction after knocking out Pelham 2 weeks ago. Speaking of those Hornets, and they host the winless Calhoun County Cougars. Pelham at 2-1 overall, 1-1 in Region 1 Single A play. And Calhoun County still not only looking for their first win, they're also looking to score their first points of 2016. And in GISA action, Deerfield Windsor Knights will look to get back on track, hosting Pinewood Christian. Deerfield Windsor Knights will look to get back in the win column, taking on Pinewood Christian. And Westwood of Camilla at 2-3, snapping a 3-game losing streak last week. We'll look to keep that positive momentum going against the undefeated Warriors from Brookwood out of Thomasville, Georgia, at 4-0 on the season. And one more GISA game, and Terrell Academy at 1-3 will hit the road to face 2-1 Tifteria in the GICAA action. Sherwood Christian at 0-4 hosts 0-1 Life Christian on this Friday, and for Saturday, September 17th, which will be tomorrow for those of you who are listening live. And Darty at 0-2 will face Spencer. And the game was moved to Saturday morning at 10 a.m. because of a scheduling conflict. And the Trojans from Albany have suffered a pair of tough losses to open the season. And they hope to get some consistency going, both offensively and defensively. And since opening loss to Carver of Columbus, Spencer's won back-to-back games over north side of Columbus and Kendrick. And Darty's game against Spencer on Saturday morning, breakfast in the Fountain City, will mark the first road game all season for head coach Corey Joyner and company. And the game will be played at Kinnett Stadium, spelled Kinnett, in Columbus, Georgia. And again, that's Saturday, September 17th, 10 a.m. And the other Saturday night game has the Mitchell County Eagles, who are 3-0 overall and 2-0 in Region 1 Single A at the GHSA, playing host to the Chattahoochee County Panthers out of Casita, Georgia, which is located just southeast of Columbus. And Mitchell County looks to stay atop the Region 1 Single A standings with a win, while Chattahoochee County lost to Seminole County in its first region contest last week. And some other games of interest in the South Georgia area. And you got Fitzgerald looking to stay undefeated when they travel to Conyers, Georgia, just east of Atlanta, to take on Rockdale County. And then what is sure to be one of the top games in the state all week, you got Irwin County traveling to Homerville, Georgia, to take on Clinch County, a rematch of last year's Class Single A public school state title game. And the Hardaway Hawks from Columbus. And keep in mind, Region 1 4A has 5 schools from the Columbus area out of 8. Anyways, Hardaway will travel to Cairo to take on the Surfmakers, and it's the Region 1 4A opener for both teams. And Hardaway comes in at 2-0 with their game against at Lee County canceled due to Hurricane Hermine. And Cairo's 2-1, with their only loss so far coming to the Thomas County Central. And Brooks County is at home against Pierce County. And the Tift County Blue Devils came off a loss, a really tough loss. Loss at home to Valdosta. And doesn't get any easier for the Blue Devils as they'll try to bounce back against a Parkview team that lost a heartbreaker at home to Lowndes just a couple weeks ago on Saturday, September 3rd. And Newton heads down I-75 to Valdosta to take on Lowndes. And the Vikings, after losing to Valdosta, will seek their 4th win in a row. Randolph Clay is at home against Stewart County. Telfair County travels to Turner County. And Turner County held off Daugherty at Humil Stadium in their season opener back on August 18th, a Thursday night game. And haven't won a game since. And Ware County hits the road to face north side of Warner Robins. And the Eagles will try to keep the momentum going against the Gators, who handed the Coffee Trojans their only loss of the season so far, 30-27, on Saturday, September 3rd. And Southland Academy out of Americus is at home facing off against Holy Spirit Prep of Atlanta. And Coffee will face University Christian out of Florida. As the Trojans out of Douglas, Georgia will try to bounce back. And finally, the big game at the Jacket's Nest in Thomasville has Valdosta taking on Thomas County Central in a battle of undefeated teams. And Valdosta coming off that rout over Tift County on the road, and the Yellow Jackets trouncing Monroe, as mentioned earlier, 35-7. So that should really be a big game. Kickoff at 8 p.m. tonight, Friday, September 16th. And on that note, I'm out of time for this edition of the High School Football Roundup podcast. I'm Walter Johnson. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.